Jack, I haven't told you, I'm hosting a holiday party for the first time ever in my apartment, and there isn't enough sitting room here.
You don't have enough chairs.
That's why I'm going to Wayfair to find that extra seating for my holiday party.
Wayfair has everything you need. It is a one-stop shop. You can get bedding and linen and all the decor that you're going to need, Amy, to make your place look great for this dinner that I now get to find out about.
There's something for every style and every home and every season, no matter your space or your budget.
Wayfair's huge selection makes it so easy to find the perfect gift for everyone on your list.
And they have fast and easy delivery, even on the big stuff.
Get last-minute hosting essentials and gifts for all of your loved ones and decor to celebrate the holidays for way less.
Head to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com.
Wayfair. Every style, every home.
This episode is brought to you by... Oops. I've got a box of Cheez-It crackers staring at me, and I just wanted that irresistible cheesy crunch. Sorry, that was a total snacksident. What was I supposed to be talking about? So salty, so crunchy, so cheesy. Whoops. Lost my train of thought. I've heard of brain freeze, but brain cheese? I'll just have one more Cheez-It cracker, and then I'll get back to it.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar, zero patience for slow walkers, those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night, have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
Welcome to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy, your besties with a literary podcast that deep dives into your favorite novels.
This is Jack.
And I'm Amy.
We're currently taking a break from our Heir of Fire analysis to talk to Sabina and Ellie from WeaponUp, instructors of a movement practice that feels like it could have been pulled straight from an epic fantasy training montage.
Sabina, co-founder of WeaponUp, studied Kung Fu in the mountains of China and became a yoga teacher in India and Spain. Her background inspired her to blend her training in martial arts and yoga into a unique form of movement, WeaponUp.
Ellie has a background as a massage therapist and instructor for fitness and yoga classes. She discovered WeaponUp a few years ago and fell in love with the practice the moment she picked up the sword. You can learn more about WeaponUp at weaponup.com. Welcome to the podcast, WeaponUp. Hey!
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, it's so lovely to see you both, Sabina and Ellie. Love to have you. Thank you for reaching out and saying, you know what, you should have us on the podcast. Yes, we absolutely should.
You're right. Yeah, I know. You're like, we should be on. I'm like, you're right. You should be on this.
No, it's really amazing that you guys have us on here. And thank you again for the opportunity. We just thought that it was going to be like a great mixing of the two different worlds, the book world and the fitness world, and then maybe a little bit of like fantasy in there.
It's perfect. I went to the gym this morning, thought about this interview the entire time, was channeling it, was listening to an audiobook. While I'm very present, I am here ready for this.
Ellie, you were saying something earlier. I wanted to give you a chance to say it.
Oh, I
just
was
in
just
case.
saying, I think it's a good mix. We're on a good mix of things.
Yeah, absolutely. It's me putting my phone on Do Not Disturb is what that is right now.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah. Knowing my mother, she'll call me.
No, that's the only person who texts me is my mom and Amy. So yes, this is a great fit. I'm really excited about WeaponUp. But before we get into a bunch of more questions, what is WeaponUp and what is the inspiration behind it? Because it is super unique. I have not seen anything like this out there.
So I'll jump in with this one. So WeaponUp is an online fitness platform that combines the sword, the Tai Chi straight sword, with Vinyasa yoga. So the practice in itself, I mean, we've kind of spoken about it as sword yoga, just in a way to make it easy for people to understand. But what it really is, the Weapon Up is a practice in itself, and Weapon Up is also a platform. And we combine Tai Chi straight sword. So I don't know if you've ever practiced Tai Chi before or done any kind of Chinese martial arts, but it's the straight sword that is traditionally practiced in China. I know, Amy, I read that you were raised in China, so I'm actually really excited to hear a little bit your experience with Tai Chi.
I know she's over there nodding her head. I'm like, when the hell did you do chai?
Tai Chi.
Okay, I realized I was saying it very wrong and then stopped.
You
Okay,
were saying chai tea.
I know. I'm like, tea? What?
That would be an interesting mix, chai tea and
And
vinyasa
Tai Chi.
yoga with a
I
little
love
bit of
that.
sword. That would be amazing. But no, this is Tai Chi straight sword with vinyasa yoga, and we do everything on the mat. So usually when you practice Tai Chi, you're actually not on a mat. It's its own martial art, and this is usually practiced like older generations practice this because it's super easy on the body. It really supports longevity. And yoga, I mean, yoga itself is obviously practiced as a form of health and wellness, and it depends on the type of yoga that you practice, but that can also support longevity. And Weapon Up really combines both of these together to have kind of weapons training and the straight sword accessible to people to do it anywhere and anytime. The
Yeah.
inspiration behind it, I was lucky enough to be able to live in a Shaolin Kung Fu Academy in my early 20s. I spent 4 years studying Shaolin Kung Fu and Tai Chi, specifically Wudang Tai Chi in Wudang Mountain and Shaolin Kung Fu with the monks. I was in the Shandong province in China. I know I'm not saying that right. I'm so sorry, Amy.
And now you did a great job.
And at that time, that's where really my true love for the straight sword began. Because when you're practicing Kung Fu, you kind of graduate weapons, as I like to call it. So your first weapon is your fist, and then you go on to the staff, and then you go on to a broadsword, and then you get to the straight sword, the jian. And once I got to the straight sword, because it is considered kind of the gentleman of weapons in Chinese kind of martial arts, it takes a lot longer to practice. It takes a lot longer to master. So you need to practice for a really long time before you can actually pick up the straight sword, at least in the traditional path. And so once I got there, and there was weapons after it, but once I got there, I just was so in love. It was such a beautiful weapon, such an elegant weapon, the straight sword. And so I just kind of took to it, and I didn't want to practice really anything else. At that same time, I had huge interest in kind of the wellness space, specifically yoga. And so I moved also to India to get my yoga teacher training. And so from my yoga training and from my Tai Chi training, I thought, I love the straight sword so much, but we don't have that in yoga. And I love the way that yoga is taught because it's so easy on the body, depending on, again, what kind of yoga you're doing. We see on Instagram some crazy things, but if you practice, simple vinyasa flows, it can be super simple on the body, and it's very accessible because you just need a mat to do it. And sometimes you don't even need that. So when I thought, I love both of these practices, how can I combine them together? And I sat on that inspiration for a really long time because I kind of decided to leave the Kung Fu Academy and the ashram. I had a kind of a regular person's job for about 9 years. And then after, in 2024, I had been practicing this in my own living rooms, like for about 12 years. And then I finally got the guts to say, hey, you know what? We're going to do this. And it kind of really grew organically online. People loved it. And as I like to always say to Ellie, like the book girls just adopted me into their
Yep.
shell. Like I was like, thank you so much, guys. Like you get it. You get it. So that was the
Yeah.
inspiration behind it, and that was the kind of story behind the practice. But Weapon Up itself is a full-on platform. We have over 170 classes. Ellie and I are the instructors right now. We're going to have a lot more instructors entering the studio over the next year, so we have quite a lot of plans for it. We ship the sword to you, so you don't have to kind of go out there and try to find like where to get a sword. And ultimately, you can just practice with us anytime, anywhere, and in the comfort of your own home.
Oh my God. I don't think I've ever met anyone who's trained with monks. I don't want to circle back to that. Like, talk about credentials. though. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Which is so impressive because I feel like, there's a lot of, you see something online, you're like, oh, that's a good idea. But to know that you have the backing, you have training with the monks there with you, and this is great. Like, we've all dreamed, whether you read books or not, we have all dreamed of throwing a sword around and
Mm.
just being able to do something with a sword. We all saw Lord of the Rings or any Star Wars or anything where it was just like, I too want to be able to do that. And yet I've never thought it would even be possible to have a remote bit of training in a way that makes sense for me, because it's not like I'm going to go do backflips and train.
So, Ellie, we've heard from Sabina and where her inspiration came from. How did you get involved with WeaponUp?
So probably 2 years ago, it must have been just a few months after Sabina had launched the WeaponUp platform. And it just came on my Instagram feed, probably from, kind of the Bookstagram realm that I was in. And I think at the time she had just over like 1,000 followers, or it was a very low number. And I just saw a very simple video of like her doing basic moves with the sword. And I think like my jaw it was like immediately hit the link, look at the membership, and I like did it right away. There was no question in my mind. And I just absolutely fell in love with it. And it was actually like for my birthday. And so like, as a 30-something-year-old woman, it was like, I'm getting a sword for my birthday. And that was kind of like the treat for myself. And then I told like all my family that, and they're like, oh my gosh. Then from there, it was I just loved it. Like one of my favorite parts of the day was getting on the mat, getting my sword, and just practicing every day. Like I thought about it. It was like, okay, can I fit it in really quick in the morning? Can I like try and do it at night? And I loved
Mhm.
it. And her and I kind of connected through, she had live classes at the time, and just kind of connecting in small ways on social media. And we kind of connected. She reached out, and probably after, a year or so of practice, that's when I kind of got more involved. And I had previously had experience as a yoga teacher as well and group fitness training. So that part of, me, the really like dedicated practice, the watching yourself improve and, finding that inner motivation, really kind of felt
Mm.
natural when I started Weapon Up. And yeah, I also have a background as a massage therapist. So just the different type of movement was huge, especially in like my 30s. I have 2 kids. So it was a time where I needed to find a way to integrate my own wellness and self care into my life again. I wasn't really doing much. And Weapon Up like flipped a switch, completely flipped a switch in more ways than one. And yeah, from there, it's just become a huge part of my life, and I love it.
I love that.
I do want to chime in like very quickly because Ellie's like very humble. But when I saw like Ellie's progression, so I started like I was doing some live classes, so with different community members, people that were, and then we were like at Weapon Up, we were doing some community highlights. And then I asked Ellie because I was seeing her in the live classes. She never missed a class. I knew she was practicing every day. And then I said, hey, do you mind just sharing some videos? And then she sends a video and she is like on it. And I was like, okay, like she is clearly, she is like ready because, with physical practices and with anything, you can not really lie your way through it.
Yeah.
Like, if you did it or if you didn't do it, right? And that's kind of like the testament that's something that I always like to say to anybody that like, you can't like bluff your way and say like, oh, I've been practicing every day, but then you didn't like, I know that you didn't. And it's not like shame anybody. And it's not to say that you did, like, that's totally fine. Like, you do it when you can, but it's not really easy to bluff your progression. And
Mhm.
so when she sent me her video of like her progress as a member, and I was like, you're clearly practicing every single day and it looks amazing. And I think that for Weapon Up, it just made sense to have Ellie as the first instructor on board.
I love that. I mean, it just comes from like a natural part of the community, and to, you know, you recognize that and you're able to just say like it's the community that keeps on giving, really. Like grow from within rather than bringing someone who has absolutely no idea what you're doing.
And it speaks volumes because, like, I don't have a Tai Chi background. I don't have martial arts background. I mean, have I taken Tai Chi classes? Yes. But to have like a foundation of yoga was great. But the way that Weapon Up is laid out and Sabina has chosen to teach it, I mean, allowed for me to find that stride with the progression and like catch on. You know what I mean? So the platform is really
Mhm.
broken down in a way that like you can take yourself on a quick momentum of progression if you practice and you're, dedicated. And I love that about it.
Oh,
And I'm sure, like, because you have a sword, like, as an object, it's one of those weapons that feels very empowering because you
Yeah.
feel like you have control over it. I say, as someone I didn't practice Tai Chi, I practice Wushu, which is a faster form for those who are not familiar with it.
it's a whole new side of you that we haven't discussed, right?
I mean, it was like for 1 year in the 3rd grade, I competed once.
Wushu girls unite. I love it.
I have one picture of me in a competition where I look really upset because I got 3rd place because I'd forgotten an entire segment of the routine.
Oh, you've been the same since then. Never changed.
Never changed. But yeah, I can imagine the joy of practicing every day and the desire to practice every day because you have this thing that makes you feel powerful that kind of represents that power as you're practicing.
Yeah, I mean, it really lends into getting I was about to say readers, but listeners, or not listeners, participants within the Weapon Up
Students.
community, students. But it seems like you guys are really good about honing into that main character energy. I mean, I have tried yoga a million times in my life because I've always been like, I'm going to be that yoga girly that I always see in the movies and everything. It never sticks. But had a sword, all of a sudden, she's the
Huge.
main character. She's a fantasy character. Who is she? So how do you bring that main character energy into this? Beyond a sword. That's I feel like that answers that. But what if like what's more to it?
Well, I can quickly jump in here. For me, honestly, before I was like a reader of like, the main character energy, I feel like when I first got my hands on that sword, because there's different types of swords too, but the double-edged straight sword really just has an elegance to it that I think is perfect for women. And also once I got my hands on that sword, it was like, and I always joke around, but I was so obsessed with it that I used to literally sleep with the sword like while I was training. So I was in the academy and I would put my sword next to me, and that was my boyfriend. And I was just like sleeping with the straight sword. And because of the energy that I feel like it was giving me. And, I'm not really a big like manifestation girl or like that kind of, like, but
Mhm.
I am someone that was like, I feel the energy of this, like, and I'm going to be more powerful. And I would just sleep with it to like kind of get the energy of the sword and like feel that strength. And I would even like before going to bed, this is in my crazy era, I guess I would say, like my training era. Before going to bed, I would practice my sword in my head with my sword
Mhm.
sleeping next to me. And that was like, it just brought this level of confidence to being able to pursue different things in my life. And that's why even when I left that whole world behind, I wasn't practicing Kung Fu, I wasn't really working like with my kung fu practice. I was doing a lot more yoga at the time. I always had the sword in the corner just watching me, and I would pick it up and I would dance with it or practice with it and like create, this fusion, because there's just something so empowering and like main character feeling when you just know how to use the sword. Because it can be a nice prop, but like wielding it and knowing how to use it, that's when you really get into your main character feeling. And, you can like just start to visualize yourself in so many different kinds of like powerful forms. Like I love to just say like every pose in Weapon Up or in this practice is a power pose. I don't know if you guys were like into like that power pose era where
Oh, we
everybody's
are.
you stand in front of the mirror in the bathroom for your speech, like holding up, like chest up. Like for me, my power pose is just like warrior with the sword or just holding the sword up. And that's just look in the mirror in the bathroom or wherever you are before something big and just hold your sword like you got this. This is like your main character. And I try to channel that like love for the sword in my classes. And I know that Ellie has her own kind of way that she does it too. So maybe I'm just going to let Ellie kind of talk about how she brings in the FMC kind of within the classes that she teaches.
Yeah, so I had never held a sword, any sort of like, prop weapon or anything like that before. And so when I first received the Weapon Up sword, it was like, I mean, that was like transformational in itself, like unsheathing the sword for the first time. And then you bring the practice into it, this whole new way of moving. And with this new like powerful, somehow like imbibed, object, and like you surprise yourself. You immediately surprise yourself, and it's a full transformation. And I think of like main characters in stories, and they all have some sort of transformation, right? And usually there's a physical aspect to it, but it's not always about like the strength. And like that's what I felt with Weapon Up, this like transformation and this like power, this like feminine, fierce like embodiment that I felt doing Weapon Up. It was something that like I created for myself, if that makes sense. And since like it came from me
Yeah.
with this sword, it was like a power that like nobody could take away from me. So when I had my sword and I like step on the mat,
Yeah.
like I am in it. I am like radiating whatever like powerful energy I need to radiate. And like, it all comes from me and how I show up on the mat. And so just to be able to have that, like even be a small part of like my mindset when I'm practicing is huge. And so that's how I feel like that main character energy plays into at least my Weapon Up practice.
Yeah. I mean, going to the gym this year, I really stepped up going to the gym. And then in recent months, I've had to step up my stepping up for health reasons. And it is something that it's taken a lot of time to feel like I can just like walk into the gym and I feel amazing. And not that, like with Weapon Up, you're clearly, you're progressing, but it feels like you get to jump straight into that, like you said, main character energy because you have that sword, right? I think that it's hard to find that motivation sometimes to like drag your ass to the gym every single day to be one in a crowd of people. And although like today I was the only woman in the gym for like 20 minutes and I was clocking it and I did not like it. And there's like, it takes like a while to feel that level of confidence before you even get there versus you're at home, you have a sword. You have that confidence immediately. And honestly, half of working out is gaining confidence.
Yeah. And so this is kind of related to that. Lovely segue, Jack. I think we've kind of addressed this topic, but just in case, how can this movement, Weapon Up, help readers channel the confidence they maybe feel from their favorite book heroine?
For me, I think what you said, Jack, like half of working out is getting that confidence. I think not enough people think about the transformation that they have when they go to the gym, when they have a disciplined, consistent practice, whether it be Weapon Up, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's running, whether it's Pilates, whatever it is, when you work on your physical being, everything levels up in some way, and especially your confidence. For me, one of my biggest things that I always like to talk about is your posture. like how you walk
Yeah, I
into
agree.
a room, you're like, you start to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
pick up
yeah. I
the
agree.
moment people say posture, like everybody just like lifts up. But when you are starting to become more and more confident, whether it's going to the gym, whether it's going to a yoga class that you initially felt intimidated by, whether it's practicing Weapon Up because it seems like too difficult, the more you do it and the more you give yourself that exposure therapy, the more confident that you start to feel. And the more that your posture just suddenly aligns and makes you like you walk into a room standing taller. You walk into
Mhm.
the gym standing taller. And I think when you practice with a straight sword and when you practice Weapon Up, you're already like, you're not going to be like slumped over, like hiding when you're holding a sword. It's just
No.
not the energy for that. You're going to immediately be like, yes, I have my sword and I'm walking a little bit taller. And for me, that was a huge, huge part of putting this practice in front of women who might not necessarily have known what like wushu or kung fu or Shaolin or tai chi would be. They wouldn't really practice with a straight sword. They would know about yoga, but for me the biggest thing like that I really wanted to portray is how you can start from looking uncomfortable in front of people, feeling really low confidence or not having that much of a high self-esteem, to slowly starting to take up space. And I
Mhm.
know that everybody talks about like, you have to take up space as a woman, you have to do this. For the webinar practice, or what I wish for every single person that practices with us, is to very comfortably and confidently take up space without being loud about it. And with a sword, like if you are practicing with a sword or if you have like it near you, you don't need to shout too much. Like the sword is already speaking for you, you know? Like
Not
like
that
be
one guy at the
careful.
gym. 1, 2. It's like, I don't need to hear you again,
Exactly.
Tom, okay? I heard you. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's like, is this quiet confidence that you can just walk into any room and you have that energy with you. Like the main character is never the loudest, most obnoxious person in the
Yeah.
room. It's always this person that you might not necessarily have looked at first, but like their aura, if you will, is just infused with that confidence. And that's what I wish for everybody that practices Weapon Up.
Mhm.
There's like one anecdote that I always love to say, like first week at the Shaolin school versus like third month, for example. When when people used to come in, because it used to be like a huge thing, oh, new person, right? It's coming into the school. It's like Love Island, but like make it Shaolin, because it would be like the new contestant has entered the villa and it's
Yeah.
literally we would see who the new person that was going to be training with us over the next few months was, and they would come out and super shy, obviously, because we're all there like with swords or spears or staffs, and they would come out super shy. And then 3 weeks in, 1 month in, the person that was walking a little bit like hunched, like kind of shy, didn't want to talk, standing up straight, is
Mhm.
super confident, is like able to talk. And I had that same transformation as Ellie was talking about, the transformation that you have. For me, it's like my transformation, the way I picture it in my mind, is going from not good posture to good posture, because that to me is like confident versus not confident.
Yeah.
When you can just stand up straight, not have to like hunch or hover or like be afraid, you immediately are like showing
Yeah.
people, hey, don't mess with me, but in a very nice and elegant way.
That's incredible. I am going to say something that is slightly off topic and not part of our questions. So Amy's like, I hate you. So just like the way we're talking about this, right? Like actually holding the sword, feeling the confidence, having that main character energy. A lot of our listeners are writers, and Amy and I are both writers. And there's one thing that when we talk to romantasy authors, and one of the consistent things that they say is that writing action scenes is one of the hardest things that they can do, because they're watching, they're trying to figure it out. And I'm not saying that like, you're in your living room doing yoga and, stabbing the nearest person, the person nearest to you, but it is something that I can see from a writer perspective, from a technical perspective. This would be unbelievably beneficial. Like, I can't wait for you guys are sending us swords and, we get some access, but this would be a huge benefit for writers to be able to just hold a sword, learn some movements, feel the flow through that, and then gain some of that confidence. Like,
Yeah.
and then, oh no, you're working out and being healthy as well. But like just from a writing perspective, this is huge.
Yeah, that's such a great point. I think just even understanding how a sword feels, the weight of it, how much resistance you might encounter if you were cutting something down, not that we're encouraging that, but I think it is its own form of research that a writer should be doing. And I think that's a great idea for any of our listeners who are writing their own romantasy books.
Do you have like special courses? Like, I mean, not special writer courses, but like, do you have anything that might be, do you ever build anything that's inspired by specific worlds, by fantasy vibes? I mean, I'm going to put this out there. Maybe you do a future one about writers, a writer vibe one.
I don't know, Ellie, if you want to take that, and then I can also chime in.
Sounds good. Yeah. So, I mean, completely. I am not a writer myself, but I'm putting myself in the perspective as a reader. And there are sometimes when I am practicing Weapon Up and I will be listening to an audiobook and like the character is in training or whatever. And I am like literally training there with her, and like it's so, I mean, when you are doing Weapon Up, you can kind of put yourself right next to your character. Like, put me in, coach. Like, I'm training too. Like, let's do this together. And, when you ask specifically about courses that might be like, or classes that are more geared to that, with the community that has really shown huge support with Weapon Up, with romantasy lovers and book readers. I myself am a huge fantasy reader. And so we kind of came up with the idea of having a few kind of like edits put in there. So there is like a female main character set of classes or a series. So with these classes, I took bigger main characters. So we have like Violet, Sorengale, and we have Aelin, and we have Farah and Nesta. And these classes are kind of designed and inspired with them in mind. So like if Nesta was doing Weapon Up, like what would her go-to moves be? Or like how is she practicing? How is she holding herself? Like is this, the beauty of Weapon Up is like it has so many different vibes. You can come into it like I need to like go hard today. Like I want to be swinging, I want to be moving my sword fast. Or there's sometimes where you come in and it's like I'm just going to like sit, my breath and my sword is going to guide me today and I need to like clear my head. There's so many different ways to approach it. And so with these classes, it's a way to kind of allow yourself to like embody those characters while you're doing your practice. So those have fun moves, as in like how would Selena like move around on the mat, with her sword. She's got that kind of like sassy assassin edge, but she's super graceful. So we have series like that, all with their own flows and things. But the studio as a wider whole, I mean, it's an endless array of flows you can mix together and moves. And, just one pose can feel so different depending on your mindset. And so I think like all of that main character energy can, can be infused in so many different ways in the practice.
This ad break is shorter than Manon's patience. I have been traveling a lot for the holidays, and walking from one terminal to the next terminal is normally a total killer for me. I've got to say, the Walk Slim Glide from Bionic have been an absolute lifesaver.
That's because the Walk Slim Glides have a sleek, low profile, and they're built to walk with you every day of the year, no matter the conditions. I love them and keep them in my office for any time I have to walk across campus.
I actually went ziplining this week in a cave, and I was the only one not complaining in my group about having to do the walk from zipline to zipline. I think that's impressive.
That's because Bionic has their exclusive VO motion technology. They revolutionized medical orthotics and have continued to use that science to make shoes like the Walk Slim Glides that make you feel energized and confident all day.
I was really confident throwing myself off of a ledge, that's for sure. Bionic even offers a 30-day guarantee. Wear them, love them, or return for a full refund within 30 days.
Use code BookTok at checkout for 15% off your entire order at VionicShoes.com when you log into their account. It's a one-time use only, so get all the shoes.
Bionic shoes, wearable well-being for your feet.
Also, we do have a huge author community. So Jack, like you were spot on with that. Like there's like quite a few authors on the platform and also in our wider like Instagram like and TikTok that just I see them and they're like doing research for my book and I just always like so excited to see because it's incredible. I think when it comes to authors, and again, I'm not an author myself, especially not around the romantasy genre or the fantasy genre. A lot of authors write like their main characters seem to be like who they wish they
Mhm.
were, kind of in an alternate fantasy world. And I had like a really great conversation with Sarah Sido. She's an author, and she was basically saying that her main character is really just follows who she wishes she was. Like, you know, she had gone through like quite a lot of things in her life. And I think for me, when authors come in and say, I'm doing this as research, wink, wink, I love to see it because it's kind of like they're embodying their main character, not only writing about them on the page, but actually being their main character too.
Yeah.
I think like it seems to me from engaging with quite a few authors over the last few years that they love to be a little bit too much behind like their book or
Mhm.
behind the scenes, and they try to get their characters really out there and like show their characters off. But in my head, my goal is to get the authors to feel like to show off a little bit more themselves rather than just their characters. But of course, we all want to share our babies and make sure our babies shine. So
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
authors, it's their characters.
What I really love about all of this, is we're going to start analyzing silver
Yeah.
flames. So I'm really excited to start practicing Weapon Up while listening to
We
Nesta train with the
we need to do it like a coordinated
yeah.
training while recording. Yes.
And listening to Nesta and the Valkyries, which is super exciting.
That is like the perfect book to like start out with it.
I want to go back to a question that we kind of skipped, which was I know, Ellie, you mentioned having a bookstagram and reading fantasy. And Sabina, you mentioned that the book girlies have really kind of embraced Weapon Up. Were either of you romantasy or fantasy readers before practicing?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that.
So I'll start in terms of the romantasy reader question. So I was not a really big romantasy reader. I've been a reader my whole life. Like I used to like lock the door to my room knowing that I got a new book and like I would just make sure that that weekend it was over. Like I was going to stay up until 3 4 and I was going to finish it. And actually before the whole like book talk and romantasy and now like it's a huge part of my life because of just who our community is. I started reading like the Bryce Quinlan series, so like
Mhm.
that specific series, and I was actually reading that during my yoga teacher training because I did like a bunch of them after my initial one in India. So I just had those books, and after doing like
Nice.
8 hours of yoga a day, I was just like reading about Bryce and Athalar, you know, like so it was pretty funny for me like coming back into this and then being, as I say, adopted into the book talk and book girly community because I've never really been like just solely a romantasy reader. Like I love all kinds of books, all kinds of authors.
Mhm.
I've loved reading. Unfortunately, these days I'm not reading as much.
Yeah.
But when I first started launching my few years ago, the initial posts, etc., I kept getting like Nesta, Nesta. And I wasn't sure if I was being dissed or like who this person was. You know, I was just it's like, okay, like I have to understand who Nesta is because people kept like writing it. And then I, of course, because I wanted to understand and see what everybody was talking about, I started reading like the Akotar series, but I still have
Mhm.
I'm on the fifth book right now. I haven't finished
Okay.
it. I haven't started it.
Oh, so wait, that's Silver Flames. Oh, dang.
Nesta as like kind of the mean character in the whole thing, and I'm just like, when is she going to like turn like a good character? Because so far I feel like I've been dissed like online, but I'm excited to actually read the last book. But yeah, I love books more in general, and I know Ellie, she's a big romantasy reader. I think she's having some issues right now, but I know that she's a big romantasy reader.
Let's see if we can get her back.
Were you guys always romantasy, or because I know that you're looking at it from two different lenses, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm really interested to hear like your thoughts on like the whole like BookTok and how that came to be, and like now all of the different spin-offs that are coming from it, like the
Yeah.
physics around it, the all the different things.
Great. Thank you. Happy to talk. So, in my opinion, it all came from a generation who read young adult. And it came from a generation, like, I think Throne of Glass is a great transitional one where it started off YA. And this is just like a, generation of readers, no matter the age. I just mean like the generation of when the time of when it all came out to the progression of it becoming more mature. And I think that it just developed naturally, personally, from YA to new adult to bringing in the elements, the fantastical elements that we liked from our YA books, and then created organically this genre that I feel like carried through. So I've always been a reader from, Harry Potter to now Blood of Hercules. So it's definitely one of those things where I was with the natural progression. Amy, love her, best friend, light of my life, refused to read ACOTAR for the longest freaking time. My little contrary companion there.
Yeah, I've refused to read a lot of books in my lifetime just because someone suggested it.
Yeah.
I'm very rebellious at heart.
When have I ever led you astray with any of the books I've recommended?
It's true. But I was a fantasy lover.
Yeah.
Basically since childhood. So
You're more of a high fantasy person, I would say.
I am more of a high fantasy, which is ironic because I refuse to read Lord of the Rings, and I probably never will.
Nor should you.
But I do love a lot of high fantasy. But as I've gotten older, I've really found joy in romance as well. And so romantasy is a natural progression for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think like the idea of from the readers that go from like YA to like that arc, if you will, I think that also just actually really resonated with me because I used to be like a huge like YA reader when I was actually of the age.
Yeah.
And even when I think about WeaponUp, what really like lights a lot of women who practice it and also myself is kind of this like young girl energy, if you will. Like you kind of can be like, back in the girl where everybody tells you can do anything you want, put your mind to.
Yeah.
And it's like, even when Ellie was describing, like, I'm in my early 30s and I'm, I just bought myself a sword. It feels almost childish when you say it out loud, but actually, like, it can go from, like, I'm like a girl power to, like, woman power, And I think that's, like, that little girl light in all of us, like, no matter what age you are, I think the books hit that light, and I think even the practice, I do believe that WeaponUp makes you feel a little bit like that girl who could do anything.
Yeah. It really feels like it's almost like you're teaching courses on, like you said, like confidence, on getting, this passion of loving the sword. It just so happens you are working out at the same time. You know what I mean? Like, and I love that aspect about it where I think our listeners, I think people, women in the book community can really resonate on something of, I'm going to do something for myself.
Mm-hmm.
It might feel silly. It might feel like I'm going to buy a sword and play with it, but you're indulging that part, like the way that Ellie said was like, it's my birthday. I'm going to do this, in the same way that our listeners can do this, being like, it's the new year, like 2026, the year of the sword. And it's one of those where all of a sudden you're sneaking in the healthy aspect of it, which I love that with working out. It's if you can trick me to be healthy, I'm a big fan.
All right, for our listeners, if our transition is really weird, it's because we had some technical difficulties, but we're back.
Yep.
Ellie's with us via phone, so she sounds different. It's not her fault. It's technology's fault.
It's winter, okay? That's what that is.
Yes, we had a huge snowstorm, and I think that we had no power this morning, so I think we're feeling the effects.
And the cold. My goodness. So we've been talking a lot about how there's so many reasons why everyone needs to start doing WeaponUp. What does someone actually need to start? Like, what kind of equipment do they need? Let's say our listeners are here saying, this is it. This is my time for a sword. This is time for my main character year. Where do they even begin with the equipment?
So, WeaponUp, we kind of try to take care of that for you. So, you can do it anytime, anywhere. All you need is a yoga mat. And sometimes you might not even need that, but it is nice to have it just to like understand like the confines of your practice. And we'll send the sword to you. So, we actually send the sword to your door. We're also HSA, FSA eligible. So, you can use your HSA and FSA to access WeaponUp. And yeah, so really you don't need much. You need access to internet and a computer. So no power outages. And we hope to take care of absolutely everything else. And we have classes starting from absolute beginner basics, like teaching you like how to hold it, how to do the first like flowers is what we call them. And then going all the way to like more progressive flows, more like choreographed flows or grace flows that we call it. So really all you need is just the willingness to do it and everything else that we take care of.
Yeah.
So, knowing that this is going to be in the home, how do you help practicers make sure they practice safely and keep things accessible as well, while also, we all want to feel a little badass heroine too?
So the swords that we're shipping are actually flexible, like or semi-flexible swords that are dull. So I am number one was hit myself multiple times with the sword and I'm still surviving. I'm sure Ellie has also hit herself with the sword multiple times and clanking and clunking around. Of course, you always have to be safe. It's still like a long, pointy object, so you should be safe with your sword and not kind of aim it at anybody. But as you're practicing, these ones are really made to be as safe as possible. They are dull, they are flexible, a little bit bendy, and they're made and geared towards beginners. And usually I would say that you need about 2 mats stacked on top of each other. Like, so one mat and then one next to it. So you're making kind of a little square, not a long rectangle. And that's about as much space as you need. And then, of course, we get a lot of questions about how high do my ceilings need to be? And the ceilings, usually I would say about 8 feet. But if they're not that high, there are modifications that you can make. And yeah, so Ellie's also explained like a few times like what you can do. So you can either like bend down a little bit more or hold your sword a little bit horizontally. So there are modifications that you can do and you can keep it accessible. And then in terms of difficulty levels, anybody, even if you've never held a sword before, you can really just get that confidence to even first start. And then little by little, we will train you to gain that confidence and you're going to be swooshing and whooshing around like in your home.
And I know like a lot of listeners are maybe not going to see the visual, but while I was on my technical delay, I grabbed my sword. And so just so there's like a visual so that, when a lot of people aren't going to expect, like it is semi-flexible. So,
Yeah.
The tip is, it's just a pointy tip, but like the blade, I'm running my hand along it. It's not sharp. It's flexible. So, in that regard, it's safe to have in your house. I have 2 kids and they're small little girls and I'm confidently able to safely like practice around them. And like, I'm not worried if they, hold it or anything. So it is, I think that's an important piece to kind of share with beginners is you're not going to unsheath this like, really kind of intimidating object. It's very doable.
But at the same time, when you busted that out, I was like, oh my God, that's a sword.
I know the sound and everything.
Yeah. Like, talk about the best of both worlds where you like, when you pulled that out and you unsheathed it, I was like, oh my God. But then I was like, oh, I won't hurt myself. That's actually fantastic. That's good. That's good news.
Still don't intentionally point it at anybody, but
do intentionally point it at people if you need to.
For self-defense purposes.
So I have a Gurkha blade that I just like randomly have, and it's like a machete type blade. And do I know how to use it? No, not at all. My stepdad gave it to me and he was like, for practice or protection. I'm like, okay. And one time someone was trying to get into the apartment and I like busted it out. It was the realtor trying to get into the wrong apartment. So it was like the thing next door, but I like opened the door with it. And I will say he was a little scared. He was kind of a little freaked out with it. So I'm just imagining, and it was just that's like a smaller one. So I'm just imagining, you know, opening this up. Like I think people, regardless, realtors accidentally trying to come into your apartment would be very intimidated.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is a crazy story. I love that. For me, when the fun of like having so many swords, because for like right now I'm just moving, which is why you see a beautiful blank space right behind me. My decoration skills are incredible. But having so many swords and constantly being surrounded by so many of them, I'm feeling like so protected. But the number one self-defense tip that I love to tell everyone is run. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is the number one self-defense tip for any woman out there, whether you're carrying a sword or not. Run first, and if they catch you, then maybe you can start like swinging.
Well, we have more questions to ask, but I want to come back to the confidence thing. But I did MMA for 4 years back in college, and I did it because I had just a lot of men going, grabbing and everything, and just I did it for protection. And I didn't, knock on wood, luckily I didn't have to bust it out at any point, but I swear there was a beginning and an after of when men would treat me differently. All of a sudden, it was like overnight, I stopped getting harassed to the degree that I was prior. And I didn't have a sign going around saying I could kick your ass in under 30 seconds, but there's just something about a confidence that you have where you just walk differently and truly you get left alone.
Mhm. I second that. I truly second that. There is something about like that quiet confidence that you have where
Mhm.
you're not really worried. So people just immediately just they connect with your energy. If you're walking, and again, going back to that posture, you're walking around and you're afraid, you don't know because you haven't really been able to do much like, training with your body or even any kinds of practices, whether it was martial arts or other
Mhm.
similar practices with weapons, etc. You are more intimidated by people and
Yeah.
people can sense that.
Yeah.
And I think it goes to posture, honestly. I'm sure after you started your martial arts journey, you probably walked a little bit more confident in the way that, like, you just transmitted that energy
Yeah.
of, like, don't F with me. And they didn't.
And a lot more limping because I was hurt all the time.
And bruises.
Yeah. But it's true. It was very different.
No, it's people can sense that energy. They can sense it. And yeah, they leave you alone.
Mhm.
What is some of the feedback that you've gotten from those of your students or those who've started taking up weapon up practice?
Ellie, do you want to maybe go on this one? Then I'll
Yeah, sure. So from seeing the community as being part of the community in the beginning and then now to being part of, Weapon Up as a whole, I think I have consistently seen people say, like, this has like changed my life or, just it changes your life in a way that like it changes how you show up in your daily life,
Mhm.
off the mat. And people seem to really stick with it. It's something it's novel, like it feels novel, but it's something fresh and something new, something challenging for your mind and for your body. And so I feel like the feedback, like I've seen like people just want to keep growing at it.
Yeah.
They get the sword in their hand, they start practicing, they fall in love with it. And then it's like, okay, what's next? Like, what can I learn now? There's always room to learn and build. I mean, that's what like the beauty of kind of the having the foundation of like the beginnings of Weapon Up is that there's always a way to like learn or shape your practice differently. So I
Mhm.
feel like that's what I've heard. We recently got to meet in person some of our really dedicated community members, and while we were there, like, you can just tell there's, like, this thirst for knowledge, like, they wanna keep learning more, so I feel like that's the feedback that has really stuck out to me.
Yeah, and for me, I mean, just seeing like how the community grows and just like Ellie said, we just had our first event in Miami a couple of weeks ago. It was fully sold out. We were 50 girls and like about 10 of our what I call like diehard true community members, like the ones that have been with us for years.
Yeah.
And we're there with like when Weapon Up had like 500 followers, and some of them even when Weapon Up had 70 followers. And sometimes I think, wow, these people really took a chance to like follow and like they enjoyed it from the beginning. And now we're, across our socials, like a community of over 100,000, 140,000 people. So it's really incredible to see. And it was very organic. But even if you go like on our tagged or the people that just show themselves practicing, for me, that is testament in itself. Like we're not asking people like, can
Yeah.
you share yourself with your sword? Like this is all stuff that as soon as they get it, they're posting themselves practicing. They're talking about how much they're enjoying it because it's not only like a prop that you get. Like the sword isn't a prop; it's actually a tool, and
Mhm.
that's how I see it. It's a tool for your, level up or your confidence, and we're not seeing it as like you're holding it and posing with it. Yes, we do those things, but we're also flowing with it. We're dancing with it. We're doing yoga with it. We're actually like the moves are really based on structured practice as well. So like that thirst for knowledge and that desire to get better and better and better, because there's always room for improvement. I think it shows when people are just sharing themselves, sharing their swords. Our events are now consistently being sold out. And that's just a testament to that. It's not me,
Yeah.
it's not Ellie. It's really just them coming together and being like, oh my gosh. I think it is really just the practice that combines these two forms of movement that I feel like people have been waiting for.
And I think like a lot of the community members, this is a completely new practice. They've never held a sword before. Maybe they've never done yoga. Maybe they aren't really into a fitness routine at all. And seeing people share every little thing that people share, you can tell it might be like a small victory, but it's huge. And like from starting out with a blank slate with Weapon Up, like I know that feeling. Like those small victories are huge. And I think that slowly builds up that confidence with Weapon Up. And it's just so cool to see in the community.
Your enthusiasm just makes me so excited for the opportunity that we have to try this out to practice. I can already tell like this is going to be me fighting with my fiance for the mat. Like, no, it's my turn with the yoga mat. It's my turn in the room to practice. And even Jack and I, in between recordings, I was like, this would be so much fun to like record ourselves and show our progression and share that with our listeners too.
Especially as we gear up for Silver Flames analysis, which we're doing in the new year.
Yeah. So exciting.
But, I mean, like, I know we're probably saving this for later, but it seems like you guys came in with a really great surprise for us because our listeners can get to practice with us and with Nesta.
What a serendipitous moment. Honestly, it's really crazy how some of these things are happening. Like for me, I feel like a lot of the times that we have started to talk to people or that they're like, oh my God, I've just started reading this book, or oh my God, this is such perfect timing. Then I'm constantly thinking, like, hey, what's going on up there? Like, or
Yeah.
wherever, like, what is happening right now? And I think that's the beauty. Sometimes this practice just finds you, like, when it's just the perfect time for you.
Yeah. And honestly, it's the perfect time for us and really our listeners if they want to, because you very generously told us before we started recording that you're going to offer them a very kind gift.
So, yeah, for all of your listeners, we're very happy to say over the next 2 weeks, once the episode airs, you guys will have a link in your website where you can get 20% off your Sword and membership. So that will be both monthly or yearly. So you can try it out, 20% off. And we're very excited for you to try it out while also reading Silver Flames.
That's incredible. Yeah, it's funny because like the Silver Flame season doesn't come out till later, but Amy and I are going to be reading and recording starting in January. So this is very much like all right, everyone, rally the troops. We're all training with Nesta.
It's so perfect. It's gonna like amplify that like rereading even more. I'm so excited for you.
It really is.
So before we wrap up, we have a couple rapid fire questions for you both. So to start off with, what's your FMC weapon of choice?
Yeah. If I had to pick like specific, it would be like wind cleaver. Like Manon's wind cleaver. Sabina, it's a sword. She has a sword. She has a sword. And I think like it just sounds like a legend and like I want that in my hand. And like
Yeah.
when she like holds it, like everything is like still like waiting for her to decide.
To cleave that
what's next.
wind.
Yeah.
Another rapid question. What's your favorite fantasy trope to embody?
Ellie?
Clever, like being clever and witty over like brutality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that one.
Yeah.
I don't know what my answer is to this.
That's okay.
I'm just sitting there like,
Stabby FMC.
Yeah.
Or-
yeah. I think, thank you. That's me.
I will say for those like not that like that you're saying this, but like the like witty, fast responses that like you kind of it is a double-edged sword, pun intended. Because as someone who I've put my foot in my mouth many a times, and it is pre-medicated me was real bad at it. Thank God medicated me has a little bit more of a filter, but those yeah, but over brutality is very nice. Sometimes though you say something and it can still lead to brutality if you say it to the
It's
wrong
true.
person.
And then if you could train, quote unquote, train any fictional heroine, who would it be?
For me, honestly, I would say, because I try to think about this and like, since I'm reading now the Akatar books, I still haven't gotten to that last one. So I'm going to be reading it with you guys. For me, I would say Elaine. And this is because like I
Yes.
always feel like she needs a sword. Like,
Yeah.
girl, get it together. Grab a sword. Like, she's like soft and like beautiful and everything. But I feel like she just really, I would love to train her. I'd love a few days with her.
I love that. How about you, Ellie?
This is a little out of like left field, but I think I would want to train with Arwen from Lord of the Rings.
Ooh.
Just because she's already so like graceful and wise. And like if like elves had like a battle background. So like she has it in her, but like that would be fun to like awaken it in her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would do Arwen.
Nice.
That's exciting. I don't know. I can list you the characters I don't want to train with. Like I don't want to train with Selena. Like she's going to push me too hard. I can't do it. Like she's cool, but
She would be fun for like a week.
I don't know. Like, because every once in a while I'll be like, oh yes, Arabin had me hanging off the side of a building for like 3 hours straight. And it's like, no, I can't.
I feel like I would like that. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I'd be just like, yes, like show me what do you got? You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm realizing though that there's not a single training sequence with anyone that I could succeed with. I'm a positive reinforcement kind of a girl.
So am I.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So we already said about like, I know I jumped the gun here, but it was just felt like I was just so excited. But remind our listeners again, where can they start? How does a beginner even start? Where do they get the swords? You said that you sent them, but do they go to your website? They don't just go spam your DMs?
Yeah, so you can go to weaponup.com. That's where absolutely everything is. And we have swords plus memberships or just memberships by itself. So we have like 3 systems. You can just get a membership monthly or yearly, a sword plus membership bundle. And we're actually also selling just swords. So if you feel like you want to get the sword, but you're still kind of hesitant on if you want to do the membership or not, we also now are kind of doing that as well. Everything is HSA FSA eligible except for the sword by itself. But if you get it in the Sword Plus membership bundle, you can use your HSA FSA cards. And really, it's just one click away. We ship everything to you. We size you in a way so we give you the right size. So depending on your height, the length of the sword is chosen for you. And all you do is press play on the first, like, we have multiple series in the studio, but also classes. And we always suggest to start with the 10 Days to Sword Mastery series. So it just teaches you, like, from really, really beginner, never having held a sword before, to, on the 10th day, you're able to do a lot of flowers and kind of flower your sword around. And then we go into the different flows. So weaponup.com, pick your membership or sword bundle, and then just join us on our first 10 Days to Sword Mastery program.
Amazing.
I can't wait. Yeah.
Me too. I want to see what you guys do and how it looks during your training.
Okay. I'll send my report. I'll send my- I will.
It's a positive reinforcement, Jax. I will never.
Thank you. Yeah.
You have to do it. I'm kind of like positive reinforcement, but I do like crazy things like hanging off the side of something because I feel like that would just be fun. So for me, that's positive reinforcement. But for
Yeah. Yeah.
it's-
That's hilarious. Well, thank you so much for reaching out, for, just being awesome and telling us all about WeaponUp, and for telling our listeners about it, and just for the opportunity. And I can't wait. Like, 2026 is going to be a very good year, a very sword stabby FMC year. Yeah.
Thank you so much to both of you for the opportunity to have us on here. It really means a lot.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm so excited for you guys and like so excited for your listeners. Like if I could like redo it all again, like enter WeaponUp, it's just, you're going to love it.
Yay.
Yay. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
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 Thank you for listening to this special episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps other readers find us. And of course, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Share your comments through our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com, and we might feature your feedback in a future mini episode or a Patreon exclusive episode.
For merch and more ways to support the show, head to booktalkforbooktalk.com. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the handle BookTok for BookTok. And don't forget, join us as we keep the analysis going by subscribing to our Substack to get more insights into the romantasy and romance world. Head to the subtextsocietyjournal.substack.com.
Bye.